At Albanian American Vision, today we have a special guest. EGRIU is an Albanian American who fought for decades for human rights. Today he will announce a special information, we would call, for us. And let's hear who is EGRIU and what does he do and what he is going through and what he is promising us. Welcome to Albanian American Vision.
Thank you for having me, and I'm honored to be here.
EGRIU, we are surprised you want to tell us something, and we really didn't know that much about it. We know you as an activist for human rights, for development, for helping poor people, for helping people in needs in general. So we want to know first about your life. You are an immigrant.
Yes, I
Your
came here
father
as a child.
came here many years ago.
We
You
left.
came here as a child.
We left our homeland. I was about 6 years old, 7, and went to Italy for about 8 months. And now we came here in 1970. And since then, this has been my home.
So somehow you are a New Yorker.
I'm an American before I can call myself
You
a New
grew
Yorker.
up here.
I went to school here, but I lived in the few other places because I've traveled around opening up businesses since a young age, I should say. I lived in Pennsylvania. I picked up a little bit of that language or accent, if you can call it, but mostly the East Coast of America.
It's surprising you were only 16 when you opened your first business. Tell me how.
Well, back in the days, my father was a building superintendent, and I used to be very handy with my hands, and I used to do all the knick-knack repairs, broken locks, faucets, changing washer, stuff like that. Painting, of course, as a child. My father was a painter ever since back home. And when I became of age, I started getting jobs on my own. You know, can you paint my room? Can you paint my door? And next thing you know, I decided to try and create a business out of it. So I opened up this homemade company. Of course, I didn't have no license. I was too young, and I decided to call it Touch of Class. Because also my uncle did quality painting, wallpaper hanging, antiquing, and I had the trade in me as a child. And next thing you know, I was getting jobs, and also having workers to work with me.
Many years later, you moved to Buffalo.
Years later, I moved to Buffalo. As I also, like many of us from our community, are in the Italian food industry, pizzerias, restaurants. And I learned a little bit of that trade, but mostly when we went and opened them, I was doing a lot of the construction work in those processes. So as I moved on, we were fixing them, opening them, running them. I started working with some other fellas. They were from Italy, and what they would do is they'd open them and sell them to their managers and continue doing that. And that is how I ended up in Buffalo, and back in 1983.
You almost immigrated to Canada.
Just
That's
about.
how it looks like.
Just about, yes.
So tell me something about your education.
Well, I went to school here. I went to school back home. Actually, first time I went to school, I was 4 years old. I went to first grade at 4 years old back in Debra. I guess my father had a little pull because, you know, a child at 4 years old cannot start first grade. So by the time I was 7, I entered 3rd grade. When I came to the United States, I was supposed to be in 4th grade. They realized I was too young, so they allowed me to be in 3rd grade. I went to school here, mostly in New York City. I finished my regular school, started working, but throughout the years I took in some courses, some economical development courses, some community organizing courses, and also some trade courses. Over the years, I had dealt even with courts, handling cases more to do with property violations in housing courts. And through that process, I even learned a little bit more about the system and started helping. I can't say I'm a lawyer, but I have acted as agents on other people's behalf and went and challenged the court systems on my own as an agent for those people, because when you become an agent, you're actually taking responsibility. And if something goes wrong, you're the one that's liable. So over the years, I've learned a lot of things about the legal system and about the troubled youth. And I love to read. I'm a person that if I don't know something, I will make sure that I research and know it, find the answer to it. So over the years, you can call me a learning junkie, to be honest with you, because I love knowledge and I want to know if I don't know.
It's interesting. You are optimist on anything you start. You're very optimist, and mostly you achieve a lot of success by dealing with challenges that the others didn't want to. So, which means going and dealing directly with people and trying to help on their needs.
That I am. I consider myself a people's person. And I also do not accept that word can't. In other words, it can't be done.
We shouldn't say like, yes, we can, like Obama started, because we are kind of disappointed now with the politics.
I'm not using that term we can.
That phrase.
I'm not going to use that term we can, but I will not accept we can't. And it doesn't have to be just me running for office. I'm talking in general. I believe that there's a solution to everything.
You exploring the secret now. You running for the office.
Okay.
Tell us, what exactly is that?
I'm running for U.S. Congress, District 26 out of New York.
From West New York?
From Western New York, Buffalo, Niagara region. It's mostly the whole city of Buffalo. You can go south, if you give or take about 15 miles, a little towards the water, and then it goes into approximately almost half of Niagara Falls, city of Niagara Falls, and Niagara Falls itself. Some parts of the suburban area of the city, but it's an area that is labeled the third port, especially Buffalo and Niagara Falls, the city. It's the third poorest city in the country. And lots of money is there. Taxes are high. Tourism, especially in Niagara Falls, is high, but the local municipalities don't seem to get the revenues out of it. Like in Niagara Falls, most of the revenue goes to the state, and then the state decides what to do and what money should be given back to the municipalities. Like when they opened up the casino, all its tax revenue goes to the state, and then they decide to give some back to Niagara Falls, and now in Buffalo too. But that's what's ruined that region, I believe, the way they're operating. And to be labeled the third poorest city when it was one of the it used to be one of the best cities in the country. 1.3 million people lived in that city. Manufacturing industry, transportation industry, technology, you name it, used to be there. Some of the most beautiful homes in the world are in Buffalo. 3 of the most recognized architects worldwide, their work is in Buffalo. And to see us where we are today, and I just, over the years, I've been battling those fights with the districts that have been neglected, going in there, convincing people to invest in there, which nobody would, and come to the results. At the end, those businesses are still thriving. Some of them are making a fortune, some of them are just staying alive, keeping a family going, and basically that's what America is for. This country was designed by people like them with mom and pop shops, as we know.
You are from the area where voters are mostly Democrats.
Correct.
You're a Democrat.
I'm a Democrat. I consider myself a free Democrat.
Tell me, what did this current congressman do wrong to push you to be a candidate for that chair?
There's a big difference between him and I. You've heard of the term polished politician?
Yes.
Okay. He is a polished politician. He comes from a family of politics. His father was a great man. Don't get me wrong, good family. But the term polished politician is about self-serving to me. I do not see any serving to the community at large. I only see him serving what we call today the elite, the 1%ers. His, over the 8 years he's been a congressman there, most of the revenues that he had brought, and those revenues that he brought are majority of taxpayers' money. So it's not like he's investing his own personal money into this thing. And it's all about creating tourism. I am not against that. But you're talking billions and billions of dollars. In the last 3 years alone, we're talking about 8.1 billion alone. Never mind the billions that were spent into the school industry for restoring them. That came mostly from the state. Of course, at the end, it comes from the federal. But he's not a people's person. The people are the one that need today. Not the banks, not the 1%ers, not the elite. They have. How much more are we going to take from the working families and give it to them? When are we going to wake up? Back in the days when I was 16 years old, I used to bring in $400, $500 a week. You're talking 1976. And today that's what families are making. Back then, I remember my father paying the rent. It was like $168 or $69. Two, 3-bedroom apartment here in New York City. And today, people are still doing the same thing. Where is the fair share? I'm not against wealthy individuals. I'm not against prosperous people. But there's got to be a balance. Nobody wants a meat. Either we're down here or up here. So the difference between him and I is he wants to serve them. It's not about me giving to the poor and taking from the rich. It has nothing to do with it. We have to educate the poor. We can't just keep giving and make this country fall apart. But we got to meet. And if we keep leaving them alone, already those poor people that used to exist don't even go on the chart no more. The rich people that used to be rich are middle class today. And the 1%ers that used to only be 5-6% of United States monies, that 1% controls 40+% of United States riches. So 1%, almost half of the United States is owned by 1%. Now, are we going to continue in that process? There was bailouts. Okay, we had to do some major changes with the bank industry, with the Detroit and the GM, Ford, and all that. We had to bail them out. We cannot let those jobs go. But
Detroit bankrupt.
First.
And
They're the first.
First state in
Poorest
the
city in
United
the country.
Is Buffalo coming close to
We're third. $8.1 billion. The employment rate's still the same. We're only 280,000 people there. If I had $8.8 billion, my employment rate should be down to about 5-6%.
So where is that money going? To interest groups? To rich people?
There's a few major contractors. I know them. Some of them are friends. I'm not going to say they're dirty because they're being hired to do their job. They're not dirty. You hire me to do a job, I'll do it. But we're building properties that are tax-free, 10 years. We're giving all kinds of breaks. We're giving land away. We're redeveloping areas. Not only it costs the taxpayers money to build it and make it beautiful, let's not forget, now we have to keep up with it. So what's that? More taxpayer dollars.
If you would have that $8 billion, what would you do with that?
I would redevelop all the communities. First, I would give people value. You know, if you live in a home falling apart, nothing comfortable to sleep in, you're going to be like that even outside. Atmosphere is a lot to do with people's
Wouldn't that be
values.
better to find jobs for them instead of giving them money to build their houses and continue sleeping?
It would be so much better. You know, I've taken a lot of young men off the streets. I've always worked with nonviolent men and women. I've taken people that were unemployed. We ran this other program. We'll get into that, but jobs is the number one thing that I'm about.
You know, reading about you, I found out that you have a really good name on creating jobs. And there is a number which it's impossible to believe.
Okay.
But we want you to explain us. 2,600
Okay.
jobs created by
A single man.
EGRIU.
Correct.
Tell me how. It's impossible.
How can it be impossible over the years? How many mom and pop shops have I opened up? How many gas stations? How many clinics? How many churches? Don't forget, churches have employees too. How many mosques? How many people I've taught how to become contractors themselves that had no knowledge, helped them get their licenses. See, you got to add everything. I personally did not create the 25 jobs into me, but you got to talk about how did these 2,600 jobs came. Every little mom and pop store that I put together has an average of 5, 6 employees. Let's add them up over the years. Let's talk about how many shops I've opened. And I'm not talking just in Buffalo. I'm talking about generally since I started. You add those.
So this means if you would have that much money, $8 billion, you would create
I would go right into
thousands and thousands of jobs.
manufacturing would be one place I would invest in.
Where are manufacturers now? Did they go to India, China?
Mexico, India, China,
In
Philippines.
your point of view,
Mm.
is that something that they should do because of the taxes, very high taxes, or they just didn't think about their employees?
You know, many governments here in the United States are trying to figure that out themselves. They're offering tax breaks, offering incentives, they're offering all kinds of things, but they're not realizing that they can't do much about it that way because of the competition. Free trade. Let's talk a little bit about free trade, because free trade is something that took many of our jobs away. It's good that we do trade with the world. It's good that we open up the doors so that we have a world as one. But what's no good is if China is going to bring me billions and billions of products tax-free, and I'm only going to send 1 billion of products to them, where is the fair share? So I have this thing called, instead of free trade, equal trade. And I think this has been brought up in Congress before by a few individuals, but I think that's an issue that should be brought even further and come law. In other words, if I'm going to sell you 10 billion worth of products, you're going to give me 10 billion worth of products tax-free. But if you're going to give me 50 billion worth of products, I want to put a tariff on it. I want to tax that product since you're taking it away. So why should my taxpayers be responsible making you rich, and not only making them rich, a lot of Americans are becoming rich because they're starting to invest overseas. What if we balanced that and brought them back home? Our jobs, our kids. The corporate industry is making a few mistakes. The corporate industry got there because America was where it was always at. It was one of the richest in the world. The people were rich in general. They can't get no more out of their own people. People here right now, working families are collecting food stamps. Working families are getting heat and electric assistance. Even if they're making a paycheck, it's still not enough. We have to rearrange the picture. We have to stop a lot of things. And This is where they're at. They like their elite. They like their lobbyists. And me, I think they had enough. I'm not going to harm them because we need them. They create jobs themselves. We just have to redirect them to make this country better.
Somehow, for what I understand, you want to create a real middle class. Because we don't have middle class now, either rich or poor. So
the
what's
middle
going
class
on?
is poor now. The middle class needs to come back.
Needs
That's
to come back.
where we have to concentrate.
That's the majority should be.
Because the middle class will also benefit the low class. Why? Middle class has some money now to remodel their buildings or their homes or to go buy something. And what does that create? Why was it that when George Bush was back in the day gave $300 tax incentive for each child? He mailed out a check, $300. You got 4 kids, $300 for your children. Why? Because he knew that those $300 would be spent back into the economy and it'll balance the economy. So we have to balance things, not just the corporate world. We got to create real jobs. And Buffalo has so much opportunity, and they're not taking advantage of it.
Let's talk a little bit about education.
Okay.
New York, especially New York City, but let's go also in West New York, where
Okay.
you live. The public schools are... I feel sad when I see public schools. The system. Would
That
you do
is-
anything to improve that? Because it's really so sad. So sad.
Buffalo right now is going through chaos with its school system. It has its own operation. The city of Buffalo mayor has no authority over it because it's on its own. So it really doesn't have a watchdog like it should have. I don't want to blame the teachers because I don't think it's the teachers' faults. I think we have to reevaluate the way our school system operates. We have so much administration and so much money and revenue is being thrown away. Almost our school system almost is the same budget as Buffalo itself. Millions and millions of dollars are going to. It's not like our teachers are living large. But I remember when I went to school back in 1976, there was a principal and there was a dean. And then the teachers. Now you have a principal. Now you have 1, 2, 3, 4 vice principals. After the vice principals, you have the assistant vice principals. You have the dean. What are we doing? Who are we teaching? Are we teaching our administration? Because we don't seem to be working on our kids. 60 to 70% of our kids are failing. They're not even graduating. The government tries. They pay their fair share. But that's also more of a local issue than a national issue because each district controls its own. They have their own superintendents. They have their own leadership. Right now, downstate, we call this New York City downstate. The man in charge is, I believe, King is his name. He's been trying to come to Buffalo to sit down, but these people don't even know how to sit down. No, you did it. No, he did it. And that's the same thing we have in Congress. No, I want the credit. No, even though you brought something good to the table. Example, Obama. Everything Obama does is not the greatest thing we have. Okay? But I prefer Obama over Mitt Romney. But then again, you can't blame Obama for doing good or bad.
Since you're mentioning President Obama, let's talk a little bit about Obamacare, in general about health care. So Mitt Romney in Boston, in Massachusetts, he created healthcare system in perfect way.
Okay.
So he's managing that perfect.
Okay.
They are happy.
Now,
People.
there's a difference between his plan
And how about Obamacare?
and Obama's plan.
We don't see anything positive in Obamacare so far.
What's the difference? Okay, see, I want to see a healthy America. I got to start it off that way. But If you look at Mitt Romney's plan, he covered everybody in his state. There was no one left out. And no one was breaking any laws acquiring an insurance policy. With the Obamacare, people are breaking laws by not acquiring insurance policy. What happens? They start getting fined. Companies are being forced in a different way to operate.
It is not coming alive.
At first, just like many, I was excited about the Obama plan. But the more we dig into it, the more we see, the more I could say that definitely needs to be revamped.
It's a failure so far.
It's
and especially in Buffalo, where people are poor, and imagine most of them would have Medicaid, and Medicaid would pay also for Medicare for senior citizens. So there is something wrong that we cannot understand. It's taxpayers' money. So is that the way to manage taxpayers' money? Just spending for nothing?
But that's not the only department we're messing up with taxpayers' money.
Okay, I understand that.
Okay, Obamacare, it didn't go far enough for me. I think we need to leave nobody behind. You remember that No Child Left Behind program?
That's Romney in Massachusetts.
There's no complaints there.
And there's no complaints from the citizens there.
But Romney was also condemning the Obamacare because the Obamacare originally was slated to start like Romney's plan. But Congress and constituents and lobbyists in there went and broke it all up. So today, the Obamacare is not the same plan as they first promoted. Now, do I want to destroy the Obamacare? I think that's too late for anybody that says, let's
at least
close
to
it.
Improve.
But we do have to rearrange it and listen to both sides. The Tea Party, everybody complains about them. I'm a Democrat. But you know how many issues they have that we have to listen to?
Especially about veterans.
The Tea Party has a lot of cause. Maybe they're handling it. Some of its members are handling it radically. So the TV and the Democrats and the other parties are using that against them. But I know a lot of people in the Tea Party movement. And yes, some stuff are radical. But let's talk about the Democrats. Some stuff are too leftist too. The problem with this man is he's not a person that can cross the border and listen to the other side of the cause. Nope. We say no, we say no. He's entrenched. Because if he messes up, they like putting other people into the table. Yes, I'm a Democrat, okay? But God gave me a gift. They offered me some positions in the party, this and that. But he gave me a gift to be able not only to feed myself and help feed others. So it's not like I need to be polished by any party, okay? But I like my independency. I like fighting for the people. Now, that doesn't mean when I get there, I'm not going to work with the party. But I'm not going to support things that I feel are against my beliefs. I will listen to my constituents. I will ask my voters what they want. Even if I personally believe that it's wrong, but if I listen to them, because that's who I'm representing, is the people. And when we go there, we should be the voice of the people, not the voice of Eddie EGRIU. Yes, I have my own ideas. But a lot of things we have to listen to who he's surrounded by.
What do you think? Who would vote for you in Buffalo?
A lot of people would.
Which class?
Which class? Businessmen that understand what I'm talking about. Businessmen that are being affected right now by the Obamacare. I think the religious entity, they would support me because I've worked with them. They see that I'm for the people and not for certain interest groups. I think the minorities at most, because I've always fought for their rights, or whatever their rights. I fought for their children, I should say. I feel that they have been mistreated since the history of America till today. They don't have their equal share. I've learned this from paying attention to international matters, especially with the Albanian American community, example in Greece, Serbia, Macedonia, the Balkans, how they have been segregated from the society itself, how their education is not as equal as the rest. So now, are we indebted to this generation? I wouldn't call it a debt, but I think we better change our tactics if we want to make this country better. I think the minorities, as we are when we first came to this country, know what it feels like to be a minority. I think they need to be addressed and given better opportunities for education. Not better than me or you, but we have to get rid of some of this racist labeling and move ahead, because America was designed to be for all the people and not just a few.
You mentioned two things, racism and minorities. So somehow you are pushing me to jump to the question.
Okay.
Immigration.
Immigration reform.
It's not what we want to see.
Mm-hmm.
The law is not what we want to see. You have immigrants here.
Right.
In New York State, around every sixth is an immigrant, illegal maybe. So what would you help them? What would you do to improve the law, to integrate them in society? They are working anyway, but they have to work and pay taxes.
Correct.
And get integrated in this society, because their children are becoming a new American citizens. So why parents shouldn't have their equal rights to everybody and live, work and pay taxes and live freely?
Again, let's talk about immigration history of the United States. There was nothing wrong with the way immigration used to be handled back in the days. It always worked. It always benefited this country to what we have, maybe that we say 11, 12 million illegal immigrants here. It always benefited this country to make them citizens. It always economically benefited, morally benefited, because now you've converted them into Americans. Now they become patriotic. This is their new home. What, criminals? We got criminals in all aspects of life. They don't have to be immigration to be. But we can restrict criminality and take away their rights and deport those.
And I believe that criminals have no nationality at all.
Exactly. So
and no race.
We should stay strict and have abiding law citizens. If they do break the laws, I think we should enforce that, because we want a safe country. We don't want destroy this country any further. We need to reform immigration. These people, I am for reform of immigration. I am for amnesty in many ways, as long as there is no criminal involvement in them, because you put these people here, you register them, now you make more taxpayers. They're already here. They're going into our hospitals, getting their services, but they're not paying nothing towards that. We are paying for them, for their care. It's not like we have to give them amnesty and give them welfare and all that. We give them the opportunity to make it on their own. So I am for a reform. I want to see this bill passed now, and that should have passed last year, but they pushing it back.
For 5 or 6 years.
He doesn't have the votes.
He couldn't pass.
He doesn't even have the Democratic votes. That's why he can't put it on the table. It won't get there. Nobody's talking about it because they're afraid of this Tea Party movement, everybody being labeled. Those Tea Party movements, I have to say this straight out. I'm sorry, fellas, but you guys are immigrants too.
Yeah, but for what I see on Tea Parties, they are just requesting a strict rules for.
I would agree with some of those rules.
And who are illegal here, and we don't know who they are. So I believe that's the point. What they want to do to have more under control the system. I
would definitely look into some of them rules that they're interested, because they do make a lot of sense. They want to protect our citizens. They want to protect their rights. They want to protect some of our jobs, because they say immigrants steal our jobs. But a lot of us are lazy too, so let's not get into that subject, but law is what we have to follow. And these immigrants, as long as they're abiding by the laws of this great land of ours, they should be here. Why not? This country, like I said again, is nothing but immigrants. For the last 200 years, ships been coming in, planes been coming in continuously. And if you take a look at some of the communities, it's the immigrants that brought them back.
Buffalo is becoming like Detroit. Destroyed economy. The big businesses, the corporations are going overseas. People are getting in really low class level now because they have no money. Then they are not even taxpayers now.
Depression.
So how is this point? Are these people moving away from Buffalo and around Buffalo? Are they moving out?
Continuously.
Because
Our
you're on the
citizens
border
are
with
leaving.
Canada, so maybe they might move
No,
there or coming
they're going
to New York City or
mostly
going
United
to Washington.
States. Mostly the young generation is moving. The old generation, just like everywhere else, is hitting the Florida Keys and stuff like that. They create a pension for themselves. But a lot of our youngsters are going out for better opportunity. And we have some key things that keep the population there because of we have a good educational system. We have good hospitals, I should say. We have this Roswell Park that's still continuously growing. That industry, I would say, with another $50 billion is being invested into that area between the equipment and the buildings and technology and scientists and all that. So our educational system is what draws a lot of traffic into Buffalo on top of it. We are losing citizens. We definitely are. Even though we're losing citizens, our unemployment rate is still the same. This is why I am so, I'll use the term, buzzed, boggled. All these monies, and we still haven't changed the working industry.
Because are the same people in the same positions, so they just see the money as a number, but not any help. They don't see that money as a help for improvement.
You know, the neighborhoods are not seeing no major development. There was some homes built. We knocked down some homes. The mayor is doing his part to try and do his thing, but he, you know, there's only so much revenue he personally has. But I think we better do something about the minorities and about those forgotten communities, because people could only take it so long.
It's not only the minorities as forgotten communities. Let's talk a little bit about senior citizens.
Okay.
So they are not working now. You don't see them often. They are in their homes or maybe in senior citizens buildings, wherever they are, in projects. And we don't see anything positive for them now. Is anybody taking care of them? You, as a candidate for Congress, for U.S. Congress, what would you do to improve their life conditions? Because let's talk about Medicare benefits are day by day are being reduced and maybe even misused from managed care plans. So what would you do to improve the senior citizens' conditions? Because they are the voters. They built the country. Let's say that.
Right.
They developed the country.
Oh, if I had it in my controls, there'd be more than what we can do. What would I do? I think a retired individual that has built their dream home over the years, as he retired, first thing I would want to do is I would eliminate any kind of taxes on his properties. Our taxes are so skyrocketed, people can't even afford to stay home. Our senior citizens are losing their homes, not because of mortgages, but because of taxes.
So they are moving to Florida then?
They're moving there, or they're moving into a home, a low-income home. Nobody's looking into those things. I worked all my life. I built me this home, and then I retire, My pension is small. I don't know what to do, whether buy myself a medicine or pay my mortgage or pay my taxes. I would really concentrate on creating some kind of amnesty for senior citizens when it comes to taxes. One. Two, the pharmaceutical industry is the biggest killer for our senior citizens. Average medicine, a citizen that has to take 4 or 5 pills, some of them are taking them daily.
And very expensive pills.
Very expensive.
And you can't take them as generics, you have to get with prescriptions, and that will cost really a lot of money because they have limit on how many times they can get their medication.
Do you know Buffalo does not have any senior citizens homes right now?
That's too sad, because you have all over in the United States, and you should have, you must have. It's not just should, but you must have.
It doesn't.
Biggest mistake.
They send them into some of these suburban areas. Their children are in Buffalo, their grandparents are 30, 50 miles away. I could almost cry the way that senior citizens are being treated, to be honest with you. There's so much we can do for them.
What would you do to improve?
I would fight the medicine. I would hopefully try and keep them in their homes so that they can stay and rest in peace in the home they built. Whatever, maybe some of them were even born in those homes.
Then you
Buffalo
would
is
need a
so
daycare
historic.
for them.
We have care.
Daycare?
In-home care. It's even cheaper for the industry to do in-home care because you don't have to create facilities. Give them an in-home care. It's cheaper for the taxpayers in the long run. What, I'm going to build a facility, create me a staff? To do what? To pay me a director, $150,000 to sit on the phone, and then after work get fat and smoke a cigar? This is what we're doing. Yes, we have to create jobs. We have to think. We have to create the kind of jobs that can create revenue in return, not just give, not just take. You know, the pockets after a while, they get empty. We're not doing enough. And there's a lot I'd like to look into that even further, especially with the Washington. I'd like to see some of the bylaws that have been passed in the past, and I'd like to work with some groups. That's an area that we have to really register something new into and see what the numbers are. Where we're spending most of the numbers. Because, you know, yes, I could say, well, I can find that out, but is that all the numbers that are coming to the table? It's not just what Washington is giving. What about the local municipalities? What about the state? Those are all the numbers that have come together and see if it's right for us what we're doing. I don't think we're doing it right.
You already announced candidacy.
I have announced that I'm exploring my candidacy.
That you're exploring, but still not official announcing.
No, we have...
Is that the first step of winning the support from your party? Endorsement from any big shots?
It's very difficult to take the endorsement from an incumbent, especially when he's an entrenched incumbent, because that's a party child, as they call it. Now, endorsements, I have a few. Am I ready to release those individuals or those groups? No, I'm not, because I haven't fully made my campaign official. Do I have permission to use some of their names? Yes, I do, but I feel it's best to protect them for now, just in case we decide not to move ahead. But now that you brought this question to the table, where am I with my exploring is another question.
What holds you to announce that?
I wanted to be sure that I have my base and my personal community support behind me. Buffalo, like I said, is poor, and who do I represent? The working people, middle class and down. Middle class is poor class today. Let's be realistic. This is a congressional seat we're running for. Even the incumbent raises his money downstate or in Washington or now that he's an incumbent, it's a little easier for them to raise money. And recently, the elite that I said, Buffalo, just did a fundraiser for him. If that man went to do a $20 fundraiser, he'll probably only have his family there and a few people that are working in his circle. You're not going to have the average citizen there. So I need my base too. Just like him, Irish, they have their community. Italians, they have their community. Latinos, Hispanics, they have their community. African Americans have their communities. Greek, when Pataki was there, he had his community backing him up. Of course, he had outside of his community, but what I'm trying to say is I need my community. That's why I'm out here doing my exploring to see if my community is willing to fight the fight with me. They have a candidate here. They have somebody this is doable. This is not an adventure. This is not me coming out of the closet and saying, hey, let me get excited. I want to be a congressman. No. It has nothing to do with that. You guys have a chance to have one of your own and to be proud to get there. And I can get there, but I need my base. I need financial support. I need to be able to hire me a team. A few years ago, I did it the hardcore way with my personal money, a little bit support, but numbers matter. My community matters. And I'm out here right now working my community, as you said, is exploring it. And it looks like we're getting excited over this. It looks like we're moving ahead. The energy is growing, and it's pretty promising. I could say this. And I decided to use my birthday on the day of me, whether I'm going to run or not.
We are still waiting, and we will be excited to hear good news about this. We know somehow the answer so far. What we talked, we understand your point of view, why Emin EGRIU is a person that should be in Washington DC, should represent his communities. I'm not saying just a singular community, because you have really different communities that are forgotten there, and you want to help poor people. So is that why do you want to go to Washington DC?
I want to help make all of Buffalo better. Poor people, yes, I'm a battler for that, yes. But I'm not just for that.
What is the crime rate there? High.
We're at 35 country. Murders and all that, crime rates in the city for such a small city again. But the mayor has, the federals and the sheriff's department and the state department, they have done some things that I'm proud of, to be honest with you. Can they do more? Definitely. But you're not going to be able to stop crimes when you ain't got people working. You're not going to be able to stop crimes when you got dilapidated neighborhoods. Look at what happened in New York City. I remember growing up in New York City, some of these neighborhoods you couldn't walk across. Now you can take your child and let him go by themselves.
Especially in Harlem, it's totally different.
It's a shame that we can't do that in Buffalo, such a small area like that. We can. There is no can't. They just got no solutions. And believe me, give me some revenue. Give me 10% of the monies that is being spent in the waterfront. And let me redivert that into some other things, into some of the small mom and pop businesses and others, and you watch that change. 10%. I'll reduce the unemployment rate in Buffalo by 10%.
I don't know if we should wait longer from you to announce your candidacy for congressman, for U.S. Congress. But in our TV, we will run a spot which would say EGRIU for U.S. Congress. just to push
my
you, because
exploring-
we need people like you. So we really, this way we want to support you. We don't want to be in one side, Democrats or Republicans, but we support you as a person who had a great views about community, and who wants to somehow, you don't want to work for yourself, but you want to work for the people, and
You know,
that's what makes us a great people.
I've sacrificed a lot of things to do for people, even those that had, even people that are in business. When they call, I'll leave a few things of my own aside and try to benefit in their needs. You know, I might be different. I've had few people say to me, "But Eddie, you're too kind or too honest, or so on, to be a politician." Over the years, I've learned that authority always works in some ways, because I wouldn't have been in business over these years if I didn't have authority over my employees, or whatever the case is. But authority also works with kindness. Authority works with being good to them so they can be good back. Improvement works with kindness. Now, do I bite? Only if you bite me, I bite. Only if you're going to harm the people I'm trying to help, I bite. I might let you slap me, but I'm not going to let you slap the community. So, am I tough? I can be tough. Am I designed for this job? Oh, definitely am.
Emin, your original name, Emin, or we are calling you Eddie, but
Yeah.
Emin, your original name, and we were surprised when we read about your name, Emini. What does it mean in English? Which is everything must improve now.
Yes.
What?
What
Are you
drove?
continuing that? What drove you to that
That's
point,
me.
first of all?
That's me. That's like maybe the name was designed to fit my character. Everything must improve now. And not just your basic thing at home, but I'm talking in general. I'm talking broader than just Buffalo when it comes to that. We need to improve this society, this earth of ours.
Are you waiting until the Democratic Convention in New York, or what
Yeah.
are you waiting for?
To do?
Endorsements?
No, I've been reaching out. They're just not sure what. So everybody's on standby right now, and there's no use of locking the endorsements when we don't have the full commitment yet. Now, it also makes a difference when you do commit. People come on board different back then, and they're more sure about it. I've had endorsements in the past, and I think I'm going to do well with the endorsements. Our party back home, the Democratic Party, is in trouble. Erie County just lost the majority legislator, and a lot of the incumbents also, and the endorsed candidates got squashed. So that's telling me our party is not working together. And if we're going to make things better, we got to bring people together. And this man, he didn't have a majority endorsement from his party. He also tried to put his own chairman into the party. So it's not about being a representative and controlling your community. That's the difference. They control. I'm going to be controlled. By who? By the people.
Anything to say to your voters at the end?
There's a lot I can say, and I wish I could say them all in one segment. But many of you know who EGRIU is. Everybody knows what EGRIU has done in the past. And even the party knows me well. And just for the record, EGRIU had his chances with the party and with jobs and whatever. But I believe in the Great One. I believe if we're going to serve, we serve everybody. And if They want a representative that understands what it's like to need, to fall behind on taxes, to have, you name it. They got one right here. In other words, who am I? Who is Eddie EGRIU? Eddie EGRIU is you, and all of you.
Thank you for your time. We wish you best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I really
Wish you
enjoyed
best.
this interview,
Thank
and
you.
I hope I got my answers right.
Yes.
And stay tuned, because this is going to be an exciting year. The
And-
people are going to get it one way or another. I'm going to make sure they're going to benefit. So, stay tuned.
Thank you. It was Eddie EGRIU, a person who wants to tell us a secret in the future, not right now. He wants to announce his candidacy for US Congress, but he's still waiting. We can't wait to hear what he's going to say in the future, very soon, hopefully. For Albanian American Vision, we are so excited to reach you and to see your point of view, because you are different from the others. And we really will follow you every step. What are you doing and what are you offering to the people
Well,
that you want to represent?
I told you last time I would give you my first exclusive, and I've been reached out, and I did not want to do it till I gave it to you first.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. I appreciate the people of this country. I appreciate my personal community, and I want to thank them in advance, because they have given me so much energy in the past few months. They cleared a lot of things. That's why I say stay tuned. This is going to be an exciting year.
Thank you.